Hello and welcome to the FI Newscast, where we bring you relevant news in the food and beverage industry. Today is Friday, October 13th, 2023. I'm Susan Choi, your host for this show. Today, my guest is Jack Hamrick, CEO and co-founder of Foraged, an online marketplace featuring specialty foods and products by independent sellers. We'll be diving into the depths of foraging and the wild food market. But first, let's cover some of the top stories from this week. We start with overall economic news. The International Monetary Fund raised its U.S. growth projection for this year by 0.3 percentage points to 2.1%. The raise was due to stronger business investment in the second fiscal quarter, stronger consumer spending despite labor challenges, and a widening governmental fiscal position. However, the IMF is expecting growth to slow the second half of 2023 and into 2024. The Organization for Economic Cooperative Development echoed similar predictions, with U.S. growth around the 2% mark for the rest of this year, but lowering to 1.3% in 2024. Both entities will be monitoring interest rates and the job situation as time goes on. Domestic stats confirm continuing challenges to the American economy, with the Producer Price Index increasing by 0.5% for the month of September, and the Consumer Price Index going up by 0.4%. Over in earnings, PepsiCo recently released third quarter results. Organic sales rose by 8.8%, but organic volumes did not follow suit. The Frito-Lay sector was flat in volume units moved, while the beverage category fell by 6%. CFO Hugh Johnston said on a conference call that the company sees signs of caution amongst consumers and that it probably won't go away anytime soon. The soda giant says it is prepared to cut costs if the sentiment worsens. It's not an urgent situation. Sales at convenience stores and food service locations remain strong, but the company has made it clear that they are monitoring the situation. Over in the meat industry, challenges continue to plague the sector. Smithfield Foods, Inc. has announced they will be closing a pork processing plant in North Carolina to solve the issue of oversupply amidst decreasing demand. The closing will happen in December of this year. It follows the trail of Tyson's Foods, Inc., one of the largest U.S. meat suppliers, which had to cut jobs and close 6 plants this year alone. And on the subject of the poultry market, bird flu has started to spread in farms in South Dakota and Utah. The disease hit 2 turkey farms earlier this year. Infected flocks are normally destroyed to prevent inspection, and the farms are then decontaminated. The flu last year cost U.S. poultry producers almost 59 million birds across 47 states and cost the government more than $660 million. In grocery, some recognition for mid-sized grocery companies. Progressive Grocer recently highlighted several recent regional grocery chains for their impressive sales and strategy amidst a tight retail market. Publix, H-E-B, and Meijer were all singled out for their consistent increase in revenues, customized services, and products, and a strong customer loyalty segment. Their secrets? Individualized retail concepts that are unique to each company. For example, the deli at Publix offers pressed Cuban sandwiches to go. H-E-B offers a drive-through barbecue. And Meijer employs in-house meat cutters and cake decorators and features wide aisles for easier navigation. Finally, some backpedaling for companies when it comes to the self-checkout trend. Multiple retailers are scaling back on the popular system. After numerous consumer complaints, Wakefern Food Corp is bringing back full-service lanes in ShopRite's Delaware stores. Shoppers wanted to deal with traditional cashiers again. Costco found an increase in membership card sharing after introducing its self-checkout machines. Now it has to increase staff in the area to fully vet ID and membership. And Walmart also said it would be pulling its self-checkout kiosks in New Mexico and replacing them with traditional cashiers. From various surveys, a majority of consumers usually experience errors in the self-checkout lane, and theft also tends to be a common occurrence. So it's not surprising to see the return of full service. But other companies are still betting big on self-checkout. Kroger Co. is going all self-checkout in one store in Tennessee, and Dollar General is letting go of the cashier model in North Carolina. We at the Food Institute will see where the ball lands in this self-checkout game. And those are your top stories. Here at FI, we cover the happenings of Fortune 500 companies as well as any news of large and mid-sized markets. But we also want to cover new and innovative products, trends, and emerging categories. This week, we dive into the wild foods and foraging market. Foraging being the practice of finding and harvesting foods from outdoors, from berries to mushrooms. This practice of foraging has been gaining traction for years and was boosted in awareness by such phenomenons as the world famous dining restaurant Noma and its executive chef, Rene Redzepi, who prides himself on featuring menus often consisting of locally sourced ingredients. The wild foods market is a rapidly growing space with a huge presence in social media, and it has translated into dollar signs. The mushroom market alone is expected to make over 110 billion by 2030. So what's up with this market and what's in store for the future? To find out more, we talked to Jack Hamrick, CEO and co-founder of Foraged, an online community of independent sellers featuring specialty produce, meats, and products, serving at-home consumers as well as the restaurant world. Jack, we want to welcome you to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Susan.
All right, let's get right into it. First off, tell us in your own words, what is Foraged?
Foraged is the marketplace for wild and specialty foods. Wild and specialty foods are a big market, but it's extremely fragmented. And Forage provides small-scale food producers with a turnkey business solution, plus instant access to an enormous nationwide customer base. And by centralizing such a fragmented market, consumers get access to rare foods never before available online.
Tell us the story, the backstory. How did you come to found Forage? That's something I definitely want you to get into to tell the viewers out there. I think it's just such a great story.
Something that I've always been passionate about my whole life is food and agriculture. And so in 2020, I was chief of staff at a Series B startup based in New York doing waste and recycling innovation, and was starting to get the itch to do something on my own, and was looking at food as the next step. And at the time, I eat a lot of food. I'm a pretty large person, and I was eating up to sometimes 2 pounds of red meat a day, which was kind of startling, especially given my sustainability background. I realized that is not a good thing. And so I was trying to explore new options. I was eating a lot of mushrooms, and I was getting really tired of portobello mushrooms. It really was one of the only things I could find. And at the same time, mushrooms are really picking up a lot of steam. New York Times ingredient of the year, all over other media outlets and social channels. I just kept seeing mushrooms everywhere. So I was trying to find this one mushroom called chicken of the woods. It's this really almost otherworldly bright orange mushroom that's apparently very hard to find. I could not find it. I was talking to a bit of a distant friend, an older friend at the time, who's now my co-founder, Andy, about some other business ideas I was working on. And I had brought up the quandary of trying to find this mushroom called chicken of the woods. And he says, what do you mean? I have like 10 pounds of it, and I can't figure out how to sell it. Got me looking into it quite a bit more. So I was looking, who are the players here? Who is doing things in this market? Because clearly there's an opportunity. And what I found was that the community around it, while the market's fragmented, the community was incredibly passionate, incredibly concentrated, already online between Reddit, Facebook, Discord, you name it. And that's really what clicked the idea into place for me. Huge market, super fragmented, extremely passionate community with millions of people that are already together. If you can take those two things together and click them into a platform marketplace, layer in e-commerce over top of that, you've just solved chicken and egg, you've just solved initial user base, and you've solved the friction that occurs from trying to actually transact in this market.
Going further, continuing into, the back end there of how things work, wanting to talk about, the sellers on your platform. You've said on your website, you really want to empower, those independent sellers, those small businesses, but also at the same time, as booming as this foraging, trend is, it's still, it's a largely, unregulated kind of practice. What's the process for vetting, the foragers, the sellers who want to be featured on your website? Take us through how that works in Foraged.
We only want to offer our customers and the vendors' customers the highest quality products from the best sources. So our application process is very high friction on purpose. We have a robust intake form that takes quite some time to actually fulfill. From there, we review every single application. Currently, our acceptance rate is only about 28%. So very few people actually even make it through our initial screening. We do Zoom meetings and demos with prospective vendors to make sure that they're competent and professional and they are a legitimate business. We're not a Wild West marketplace in any sense of the imagination. And once we meet with them and we make sure that their products are a good fit, we then help them get set up and onboarded, and then let them pretty much run their business. I mean, as you said, we're here to empower small-scale food producers and mom-and-pop food businesses. And our mission is to give them the tools and the support and the resources and the network, which is what the marketplace produces, to enable them to be successful. After they're already live, we have some pretty high caliber staff on our team that constantly vets products on the site, even after a vendor has already been accepted. You mentioned Noma before. Actually, one of our employees used to be a cook at Noma. So he's constantly on the marketplace vetting different products, making sure everything's looking good. My co-founder, as I mentioned earlier, is a certified mushroom forager. So he's constantly checking things. And we also have a really robust community on the marketplace. We get, not terribly frequently because we vet so heavily at the beginning, but there has been 1 or 2 cases over the last 2 years of the community actually bringing some things to our attention about harvesting practices from other vendors and saying, hey, I don't think they're doing this in a proper manner. Can you all investigate it? And again, it's only been 2 times, but we have taken action when those have occurred. So it's been great to see that our diligence on the front end has really paid off in terms of quality and diversity of supply on the marketplace.
It's a really interesting process. Thank you, Jack, for explaining for us. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more with Jack Hamrick of Foraged. Stay with us. All right, we are back with Jack Hamrick, CEO and co-founder of Foraged. We are talking all about his company. We're talking about the wild foods market and the trend of foraging. Okay, let's get back into it, Jack. So tell us, continue to tell us about the company. You started in 2021, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and I remember reading on your website, you said you started this company in part to support small businesses, cut out supply chain disruption, as well as combat rising food prices. The way that your platform works, explain to us what you all do in order to push back against those challenges.
Sure. So our mission, again, to say, because this is really what we live by, we're here to empower these small scale food producers. And one thing I find and really cherish about the way our business model works is that we are only successful when these independent food producers are successful. So we do everything we can to give them the tools they need, whether that's advanced shipping APIs, discounted rates, pre-order subscriptions, messaging capabilities. It's a pretty robust suite of tools. We're doing all that for them, and we only succeed when we do the right thing by these independent food producers. And in terms of how we involve ourselves in their operation, we try to stay as hands-off as we can. These are independent mom and pop type businesses. We're here to help them. As long as their customers are happy, we try not to get super involved. It's going direct to the consumer from the producer. There's no warehouse. There's no trucks all over the place. It's not like it's a meat that's coming from Australia to a packaging facility in Minnesota, and then it's going to a freezer and then a truck and then the grocery store. Literally, people harvest it with their hands. One day, you order it, it goes directly to you the next day. It's a really incredible experience, to be honest. I'm still absolutely amazed every time I get an order from Foraged, just the diversity of products. And you can just tell that this literally came either from the woods or from the ocean or from someone's small farm in a box directly to your door. It's a pretty magical experience, and it's really honestly it's incredible. I don't have words for it. It's just so amazing to get such rare foods right to you with a handwritten note from a vendor who really appreciates your support. And I'm obviously delighted by what we're doing.
It certainly is a fascinating business. I mean, I've loved perusing through your website, seeing all the types of products that you could get. I mean, I find that really fascinating. Want to know, Jack, from you, tell us, what is your customer makeup? You know, what are the demographics of the people that are coming to buy your products? Is it is it mostly businesses? Is it individuals? Who's buying from your website right now?
Up until recently, it's almost entirely been home cooks. Up until recently, it's been direct to consumer for the most part. People finding our website through organic searches or on social media, or from some of the chef advocates that we do have. We have started growing our, I guess you could call it, wholesale business line quite a bit in recent months. Everything from Allagash Brewing, buying exotic fruit and heirloom produce from us, to Oyster and Rob Ruba, who just won the James Beard Award this year. Quite a collection of Michelin level restaurants and high caliber chefs. And that's one of the biggest validation points that I feel we demonstrate, is that we frequently have extremely high caliber chefs reaching out to us saying, I can't find X or Y or Z. Can you help me? Do you all have it? And 9 times out of 10, we have an assortment of the thing that they're looking for. What state do you want it from? What sub variety do you want it from? And being able to provide chefs who are such incredible cooks with ingredients that even they cannot source is very telling for what we're building. Chefs in wholesale only make up about, they're increasing for us now. It's becoming a more material share of the business, but we're still pretty focused on direct to consumer, because what we've done with our business model is that by bringing on more of these specialty food producers, collecting them all in one place on this marketplace, empowering them to reach new customers, that is how you get the scale for the customer base to be able to, in the same cart, purchase live wild oysters and cloudberries from Alaska and heirloom shagbark hickory nuts and single estate coffee in one cart. All of those coming from different places to the same customer is, again, another validation point that we have. And we're probably going to see our wholesale business line pick up quite a bit. We do see a lot of other distributors buying from us, which is pretty interesting, that their whole business is distributing specialty foods, and they can't even access these foods. So that's something that definitely I get a little bit of joy out of, being able to have such a huge portfolio of such hard to find ingredients.
Right. Want to go back to what our discussion was about foraging itself. As you've mentioned, Jack, it's it's a booming trend. We see it all over social media. We see its impact on restaurants and on the markets. What do you think are the drivers for foraging? Why is it that it's becoming it has become such a popular thing? Give us your insights about that.
More consumers than ever want to know where their food comes from and who harvested it and the story behind it. And there's no better way to do that than with foraging and wild foods. And of course, with specialty and heirloom foods in general. So I think that's a really big trend that is not going to subside, is knowing where the food comes from and its nutritional inputs and all of that. Plus, last year, Americans saw the largest annual increase in food prices since the 1980s. And being able to access food directly from small scale producers is a way to cut out all of these corporate interests and price gouging mechanisms that we've seen in the market as a whole. During the pandemic, we saw a huge spike in people engaging with foraging and getting outside and understanding the world around them. So that certainly was a nice impetus for us and a nice tailwind when we had first gotten started. We've not seen any sort of decline in that interest at all. And I think with social media being such a huge driver, particularly TikTok, that trend, as I mentioned earlier, is 1.5 billion at last time I looked, hashtag foraging on TikTok. That's certainly not going away. And I think wild foods are really just starting to scratch the surface of becoming more mainstream.
Yeah, going off on what you just mentioned, the wild foods market. We know about the mushroom market. It's been booming, but what market share of the food industry does wild foods have, and where do you think this category is going to be 5-10 years from now?
So mushroom market is enormous, as we know, and what we're doing with the wild food market in particular, again, we do all specialty food now, from meat to seafood and so forth, but we're bringing such clarity and validity to the wild food market and helping organize the industry and helping the individuals in that industry financially empower themselves. Up until now, it's been very much cash-driven economy, off the record, not sort of disorganized, not really like an enterprise type market. And that really doesn't, that does nothing but, there's just nothing but negative outputs for the individuals who are actually harvesting these ingredients in today's makeup of the industry. It's typically an individual harvesting either on their own land or land that they have access to. They're selling to a middleman. They're getting dollars on let's say it's matsutake. You might be making $2 in the field for the matsutake you harvested. The chef who's ultimately going to buy that and cook that might be paying $100. And all these middlemen in between is what's really disempowering the individuals who are harvesting this. And so with Foraged, we've really cut out that entire chain where now person A, who used to be undercut by these middlemen in the way the industry is working, now sells directly to the home consumer, the chef. And let's say that person used to get $2 a pound. Now maybe they're getting 25, 30 a pound. And that chef who used to spend $100 a pound is now only spending 50. So it's really nothing but positive externalities and financial empowerment on both sides. And the only way that has started to evolve is with Foraged and with all of the transparency and clarity that we're introducing to the market.
All right. Well, Jack Hamrick, CEO and co-founder of Foraged, thank you so much for joining us. It was very educational and enlightening conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Before we go, we're going to take a look at what's coming up in the food industry in the coming days. On October 17th, the Census Bureau releases retail sales figures from August. Also on the 17th, Albertsons releases earnings for Q2 2023. And on October 19th, the Conference Board puts out the leading economic index for September. And that's our show. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to tune in next Friday, October 20th, where I will be interviewing Justin DeFronti, Managing Director of City National Bank. We'll be getting into the mergers and acquisitions trend, what refinancing will look like for businesses in 2024, and more. You don't want to miss it. I also want to remind you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our social media channels. The support really makes a difference for us. Thanks again for watching. Have a great weekend and take care.